Young and the Restless Spoilers reveal that Summer Newman, the promising creative director at Newman Media, is facing a serious career crisis. While she has always been an important part of the Newman empire, Summer's talent and dedication are facing an unforeseen challenge, and the source of it all is Chelsea Lawson. Chelsea, who has always stood out for her creativity and unparalleled talent, suddenly made a shocking decision. She wants to leave Victor Newman's company, where she has been with for a long time, to join Newman Media. This decision not only surprised Summer but also raised serious questions about the future of the company. Although Summer has always understood that in a harsh business environment, bold decisions are inevitable, Chelsea joining Newman Media could spell the end of her career there. Phyllis, Summer's mother and problem solver, suddenly appears with some weighty advice. Phyllis sees signs of a breakdown in Summer's handling of work and her relationship with Chelsea, and decides to step in to rescue her daughter. Phyllis is not only a mother, but also a talented strategist in managing personal and professional relationships. However, despite her talent, she knows that resolving this crisis is not a simple matter. Things get more complicated when insiders begin to speculate about the real reason behind Chelsea's decision. Is Chelsea tired of the working environment at Victor's company and looking for a new challenge, or is there some other factor behind her decision that no one knows about? Summer knew that hiring Chelsea was a gamble from the start, but no one expected that gamble to lead to such a huge business crisis. As Summer tried to come to terms with the situation, she couldn't help but recall a similar crisis the company had gone through in the past, the Marchetti crisis. When a seasonal product line was about to launch, everything suddenly became chaotic and risky. This time, although there was no product line about to launch, it was a serious crisis within the creative apparatus of Newman Media. Both Summer and Chelsea were talented people, but they both knew that in the media industry, one wrong decision could change the entire company. Although Summer felt betrayed, she also understood that in this business world, anything could change in the blink of an eye. Chelsea did not make any official announcement about her decision, which made both Newman Media and all the investors worried about the future. This was a big shock not only for Summer but also for the entire company. If Chelsea moved to Newman Media without prior notice, it would damage the reputation of the company that Summer had worked so hard to build. Meanwhile, Phyllis kept urging Summer to take control of the situation. She advised her daughter to end all ambiguous relationships and make a decisive decision. Phyllis was always the one who saw the problem before it exploded into a disaster. She advised Summer to confront Chelsea directly and ask her to choose between continuing to work at Newman Media or coming back to fix the mistakes she had made. At this time, Summer felt stressed and out of control. Everything was slowly slipping out of her hands. If Chelsea decides to join Newman Media, Summer will face the risk of being pushed out of her creative director position. She will have to quickly find a way to keep the company afloat and not let her personal relationships affect her career. It is a difficult problem for Summer to solve, while still maintaining the image of a strong leader who can lead Newman Media through any difficulties. Now, Summer has no choice but to confront Chelsea head-on. She will have to convince Chelsea that the company is still a place where she can develop her career, and that leaving now will only make things worse. However, Summer's inner turmoil also makes her wonder if she can maintain her job and keep the faith of those around her. This story is not only a battle between two talented female creative directors, but also a test of Summer Newman's leadership and strategic vision. Can she keep Newman Media afloat, or will it all collapse under the pressure of unforeseen career crises? Newman Media's future is in her hands, but will Summer be able to overcome this challenge with excellence? The situation is very tense and there is no guarantee that everything will end well. But one thing is certain, this battle is only just beginning. The firing of Phyllis Summers was one of the most shocking events at Abbott Communications, and no one could have imagined that things would get so tense. Billy Abbott, CEO of Abbott Communications, decided to make a difficult decision by informing Phyllis that she had no choice but to leave the company. Although Phyllis had been an important figure for many years, contributing significantly to the company's success, recent events had made Billy lose trust in her. Phyllis's actions, especially her excessive interference in other people's work and her wrong decisions in the past, had forced Billy to decide to part ways with her. Phyllis was not only surprised but also hurt by this decision. With her strong and proud personality, she did not easily accept defeat. The reason Billy gave, although somewhat reasonable, still could not ease the pain that Phyllis had to go through. She felt abandoned, and all her hard work seemed to be taken for granted. Phyllis's anger was understandable, but she also began to realize that there might be a deeper reason why things had ended the way they did. Losing her job was not only a shock to Phyllis, but it also created a sense of uncertainty. With no work to do, no clear purpose, Phyllis began to feel lost in her life. Things she had always believed in were now unclear and uncertain. She tried to find comfort, but in this moment, her concern for Daniel Romalotti, Jr., her son, dominated Phyllis's mind. Daniel, who had always been Phyllis's biggest concern, was facing his own challenges. Although Phyllis was always willing to help her son, Daniel did not want his mother to interfere in his life. Daniel had previously refused his mother's help, which left Phyllis feeling lonely and confused. She could do nothing but worry about her son, but Daniel's refusal left Phyllis feeling helpless. However, in a situation filled with stress and personal failures, Phyllis couldn't help but worry. She realized that Daniel was trying to solve everything on his own, without her mother's intervention. This made Phyllis feel more uncertain than ever. Although she always tried to protect Daniel, it seemed that she couldn't change her son's determination. While Phyllis was caught up in her worries and sadness, the situation became even more complicated when Summer's crisis once again made her face difficulties at work. With the company in a tailspin, as Summer Newman deals with a major crisis at Marchetti, the upcoming seasonal product line is delayed, everything seems to be on Phyllis's back. Even though she has lost her job at Abbott Communications, Phyllis still tries to help Summer. She realizes that this is her last chance to prove herself, not just as a mother, but as a strong woman who can solve any problem. While Summer is facing a major crisis at Marchetti, Phyllis can't help but feel pushed into a dark corner of her life. She sees herself in Summer, and feels that they are both facing serious challenges that no one can help. However, Phyllis still believes that there is something she can do to help Summer through this difficult time. Summer's problems at the company are playing out in dramatic fashion. The Marchetti crisis was not just a product issue, but also a reputation and credibility issue for Newman Enterprises. Phyllis saw an opportunity to not only rescue Summer, but also restore her image after personal and professional setbacks. However, this was not easy. The confrontation between Phyllis and Billy, along with Summer's crisis at Marchetti, creates a dramatic tension. Phyllis is faced with a crucial decision: how to restore her career and reputation, while continuing to be a mother, supporting her son, and not hurting those around her. This situation is further complicated when Phyllis realizes that Daniel, the person she has always wanted to protect, does not need her help. Feeling abandoned and without a support system makes Phyllis even more confused. However, Phyllis still has to stand up to face all the challenges that come. Certainly, Phyllis's journey is not only a battle with personal failures but also a struggle to regain confidence, not only in her work but also in her relationships with her loved ones. She must prove that she can overcome any difficulties, both in her work and in her personal life. But can Phyllis find herself again in this time? Phyllis Summers has never been one to sit back and watch things fall apart. She is outspoken, energetic, and never stops taking action when there is a problem that needs solving. At this time, she is facing a crisis that not only concerns her personal work but also the career of her daughter, Summer Newman. Despite going through a difficult time after being fired from Abbott Communications, Phyllis does not let the failure slow her down. Instead, she is determined to save Summer from the career crisis she is facing. Summer, a promising creative director at Marchetti, is facing a major problem that she cannot solve alone. Things start to fall apart when Marchetti's seasonal product line is delayed due to a technical issue that was not discovered in time. This incident not only affected the production schedule but also threatened the reputation of the brand, and Summer, despite her talent and enthusiasm, could not fix the situation alone. Phyllis realized that this was where she had to step in. Although Phyllis's current job was not related to fashion, she knew that she did not need to design a fashion collection to help her daughter. She was a natural leader who knew how to look at any situation from multiple angles and create effective solutions. She did not need to do the creative work, she just needed to provide direction, leading people to work together to overcome the crisis. This was the role where Phyllis could best demonstrate her abilities. Inevitably, there would be some conflict when Summer and Phyllis had to work together. Although their mother-daughter bond was strong, their relationship was not always smooth, especially in stressful situations. Summer is assertive and ambitious, while Phyllis is more of a control freak, not afraid to make strong decisions that can sometimes make Summer feel overwhelmed. However, Phyllis knows that, at this point, they have no choice but to work together to solve the problem. So, what is Marchetti's problem? At first, Summer just thinks it's a product issue, maybe a manufacturing defect or a supplier issue. But as she digs deeper, another hypothesis starts to pop into her head: could Marchetti be hacked? Phyllis quickly catches on to this thought. She's always been known for her smarts when it comes to tech, especially when it comes to security and hacker threats. Phyllis is not a tech expert, but she knows enough to notice something unusual about the situation. If there really was a cyber attack, it could explain the product failure and help her find a solution. Phyllis immediately began investigating, using her experience to search for clues. She contacted security experts and quickly discovered that Marchetti's system had been compromised. This was no ordinary incident, but a targeted attack. The attacker wanted to disrupt the company's seasonal product line and cause major panic within the company. Phyllis knew that this was her chance to prove her mettle and help Summer get out of this crisis. As angry as Summer was about the incident, she couldn't help but admit that Phyllis had saved the day. Not only had Phyllis discovered the cause of the failure, but she had also helped the company protect the data and stop the attack in time. She guides Summer through recovering the lost data and works with the IT team to ensure that the situation does not recur. However, working together is not easy. Whenever Phyllis offers solutions, Summer feels pressured, because she believes she can handle everything on her own without her mother's intervention. These conflicts become more evident when they have to make important decisions regarding Marchetti's strategy. Phyllis wants Summer to make stronger decisions, while Summer wants to maintain her independence in her work. However, both realize that they cannot do this alone. To solve the crisis, they must cooperate and support each other, despite their differences in approach. Both Phyllis and Summer are strong, individual people, but in this situation, they have no choice but to put their differences aside and work together. The situation becomes even more tense when Phyllis discovers that Billy Abbott, who just fired her from Abbott Communications, is keeping a close eye on this situation at Marchetti. Phyllis can't help but feel a little bit like Billy is taking revenge. However, she doesn't let her personal feelings get in the way of her work. Phyllis is determined to save the day, proving that even though Billy fired her, she can still do great things. As things settle down, Phyllis not only helps Summer through this crisis, but also gains recognition from everyone in the company. Despite the many conflicts and challenges, Phyllis proved that her intelligence and leadership skills could help her navigate difficult situations. Summer, while not entirely comfortable working with her mother, eventually realized that Phyllis could add tremendous value to the company. The relationship between mother and daughter was tested but also strengthened throughout this process. Despite moments of tension and disagreement, Phyllis and Summer found ways to work together and resolve crises. And in this turbulent world, Phyllis was not only a mother who was always there for her daughter, but also a great leader who never gave up no matter how difficult things got.